Hey, welcome everybody to Future Proof 2021, the mastermind version. And look who we have, the man, Joseph McClendon. I am so stoked to have you. Thank you.
Stop. Come on, stop it. Stop.
Thank you for saying yes.
Yeah, my pleasure, absolutely.
We are just so excited. And we're really excited also because of you're going to be working a lot with Dr. Daniel Amen.
That's got me on fire as well.
That is, I was talking to Dr. Amen this morning, Daniel, and he is so excited to be working with you, loves your work, and to be on the Zoom call where you two first had kind of an opportunity to spend some time together. He saw you on stage, as many people have with Tony Robbins, and I think a lot of people go to a Tony Robbins event for the first time to see Tony, and everybody I've talked to afterwards has said the reason they go a second time is because of you. What's been your relationship with Tony? You've for three decades.
And first off, thank you for the kind words. Yeah. And I've known Tony now going on 33 years.
Wow!
And when I first met him, I didn't know it was him. I was going through a challenging time in my life, and I didn't know it was him. A friend of mine convinced me to go to this seminar, said that this guy's great and all that. And I went, and I will never forget this. I was at the back of the room, Paul, and it was like I was watching all these people dancing around and having a good time. And, just seemed like a bit of a cult, quite honestly. And I had decided to leave. I decided, you know what? No, I'm out. And one of the staff members came up and started talking to me because he sensed that I was getting ready to leave. And he started telling me, big guy, and he started telling me about this guy, Tony. And I said, I haven't heard anything about it because I didn't. My friend just said, go to this seminar. And anyway, long story short, this guy convinced me to stay. And then when he was leaving, he said, hang around, just watch. This guy's, he'll get you going right from the very beginning. And then when he was leaving, he took about 5 steps and he turned around and he goes, listen, you seem like a nice guy. Give me your number. I'd love to stay in touch. Now, this was 32 years ago. Guys didn't necessarily ask for numbers that way. And I just thought, maybe later, whatever. It turned out that person was Tony. He got on stage and it was like, and I thought,
No way.
And then from that point, so we became friends first. And at that stage, I was already a student of psychology, and that was my major in college and all that, and I was already along that way. And as a matter of fact, I had given up on it because I had seen, and one of my instructors in college said, psychology is the only field that you get paid for being ineffective. And I remember thinking, well, what does that mean? She was being facetious to a certain extent, but she said, well, if you have a challenge, emotional challenge or whatever, and you come to me and I help you rid yourself of that in one visit, then you're not going to come back every week and give me $100. And that was exactly what I needed to go, no, I'm out. But the truth of the matter is I wanted to be a musician at the time. And so I hadn't been practicing, during all that time as a psychologist. But then when I watched him use, and I had never heard of NLP before then.
Oh, wow.
And I watched him utilize that and help somebody get over something that in my profession would have taken a year to do. He did it in 45 minutes. I was done. Yeah. And of course, we became friends and started working together. And the rest is history.
You've spoken on stage live, probably millions of people now.
We estimate getting close to 5 million people now. Yeah.
My goodness, that is just amazing, and all over the world too.
Yeah, up until COVID. Well, now even more because now we're doing virtual. We're doing like 20,000 people at a time.
Oh my goodness,
that's crazy.
That is amazing. So as we guide people through Future Proof 2021. The idea here is life kind of gave everybody a pop quiz, and we realized that our life was not future proof. That we had planned this great future, and then an outside condition or circumstance for so many people derailed their life.
Yeah.
And now just overcoming kind of the fears that they need to take in the next step. You mastered the art of helping people break through fears. Where do people get it wrong?
Well, first off, I'm not sure they get it wrong as much as they get misguided on A, what fear is, B, what to do about it, and even that they can do something about it. In other words, when something happens, like, for example, COVID, and unlike everybody else, that old saying about the past does not equal the future, and that's true, but there's some stuff that's left out in between. The past equals the present because here we are right now, meaning COVID was uncontrollable. Nobody expected that. But how we showed up when it did happen how we evaluated ourselves and how we took ourselves out of that fear was all dependent on how we prepared ourselves in the past. So the past equals the present, and the present equals the future. And so to answer your question, though, I don't think people are educated on how, or even if they can get rid of the fears, or even what a fear is. They just get this feeling and they go into what we've been programmed to do, which is, guard up and push it down. So in terms of where, if I was to say you did something wrong, is number one, running away from it instead of running towards it. Because we don't run towards it because we don't know what to do about it. We don't know that we can change it.
Right.
Okay. But the trick to it is to run towards it. I always say, from a technical standpoint, what the outcome, I'll explain this in a second. The outcome is to initiate or to stimulate what's called the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight nervous system, adrenaline and all that stuff that comes on, the cortisol that's released, so that we can break that open and interrupt that so we can create a blank spot so that we can fill it up with the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calm, everything's going to be okay, dopamine release and all that stuff. And then condition it so that it becomes automatic. Said differently, feel bad, make them feel bad on purpose, and then interrupt that pattern. So they're in that moment where they're going, okay, what's going on? Because that's a vacuum that we can fill up. And then we can fill it up with something that makes them courageous or feel good or, like I said, the parasympathetic nervous system. And then condition it so that happens over and over again so that their fear is what triggers them to feel good. I always say that there's no fearless people, but there are people who fear less. And I'm not talking about the quantity or the amount of times that people fear. I'm talking about the duration they spend in fear. Because fear is going to happen. COVID happened. And when it comes up, at the risk of sounding arrogant, I had conditioned myself. I feel like I got to practice what I preach. Otherwise, what right do I have to do it? I had conditioned myself to when something shows up, I get affected by it as well. My whole livelihood got taken away. That's what I did. You said it. I spoke live to thousands and thousands of people every single month. That was gone overnight. Wow. But because I recognize, and what happened to me is I got to pivot in my mind first. I got to go, here's a fight or flight moment. Okay. And then I felt myself calm down. And then I put these things together. And now I get to thrive as well as I get to help other people thrive as well because of that same thing.
In your book, which is, again, number 7, yeah?
Yeah, 7th book, yeah.
And I love it. Les Brown wouldn't let you go.
He influenced me to write a new book.
I've been influenced by Les.
He's amazing.
The best in the world. The best in the world. But you make a really good distinction between kind of action and activity, right? And that, action is something that we'll do repeatedly to some end, but activity is where we're willing to go beyond that.
Yeah. The definition, my definition of it is action is doing something once or twice or maybe even 10 times. And that's going to get you some result. If you go to the gym and you want to build this muscle, if you lift this weight 10 times, that's going to get you a sore muscle and maybe a little bit of growth. Activity is doing action over and over and over again repeatedly until you surpass your goal. Till you go past it and you look back and you go, wow, that's done. So, because a lot of people, they get into action, but then because they've not conditioned themselves, action brings about pain. When you lift that weight the next day, it's not going to feel good. Right. And instead of, and that's fear, remember that's sympathetic nervous system. What happens is we don't condition ourselves to look at fear and pain and all that stuff as being a growth mechanism, as pressure as being a growth mechanism. And if we don't do that, then what happens is that we back away from it. And our natural instinct to go towards what's comfortable, eating cake or, laying on the couch or watching television or whatever, that's what's going to consume us and that's what's going to take over.
When we had the kind of introduction with you and Daniel, you both quickly looked at this and said, Daniel is kind of hardware. It's focusing on the brain.
Brilliant.
You are software, kind of the programming. As you guide people through Future Proof 2021 and they're on calls with you, what are some of those steps of filling that vacuum of the programming? Is it something that people can learn? Is it complicated? Because people hear things like, you have to go and learn neuro-associative conditioning, neuro-linguistic programming. I mean, how simple or...
I pride myself on simplicity, and the reason is that if things are too complicated for most people, I would say there are those of us, and I'm one of them, that I like to know the intricacies. And although I'm philosophical and sometimes a bit euphoric about the way the things that I talk about things, I base everything in science. I taught at the University of Southern California for several years to a bunch of engineers. And I had to get I had to prove everything. And I love it because it made me a better person and be able to back up what I say. But I believe that simplicity is the key. Most people, they want the 27 steps and all this stuff. No, you don't have to have them. And I don't have to know what caused the problem to help you change it. I don't have to know what happened in order to help you change it. If you need to know, then we can go dig deep and we'll find it out. But if you don't, we can get there quickly. But I will say this. The steps, what I'll say is this, is that simplicity is the key. However, it's simplicity of certain steps to do. In other words, if it's getting rid of fear, that's one thing, or getting rid of it or mitigating fear, that's one thing. But if it is getting yourself to take a lot of action, that's another thing. If it is setting your goals, or what you said before, navigating, and by the way, I love the name, future-proofing, navigating where we're going, there's certain steps, but there's simple steps. And if you do the steps, you get the results.
Oh, that is awesome. When we first were talking about, bringing you and Daniel together, one of the things that if I had to define a word, it's magnetism. Yeah. And I said on the call, I said, I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it, and you are filled with it. And you said that, that is something that you conditioned yourself and trained yourself. And I know Les Brown the same way. I mean, Les Brown, Les Brown had to become Les Brown.
Yes. And it's in his story, and he tells about it. Yeah, how he went through it. Yeah.
What is magnetism, and how do you teach that?
It is. Let's just say, yeah. Oh, thank you. It is the laws of attraction on steroids, for lack of a better term. However, I'll say this, and I'll try not to be too convoluted about saying this. Is that there are unseen forces going on all the time. We can't see the air, but we need it to live. We can't see gravity, but we need it to stay on the earth. We can't see electricity, but we need it, and it's all around us. We can't see these forces, but they exist. And so breaking that barrier of that there are other unseen forces that are assisting us in ways, and in other words, bringing things into our lives or impacting other people. Here's the example I like to use, and this is anybody can do it, and we all do it all the time. Have you ever been sitting in your car and you feel somebody looking at you, and you look over and they're looking at you, okay? Or vice versa, you're sitting in your car and you see maybe an attractive person or an interesting person, you look at that person and they catch you. And we always do the same thing. We always go like this. When they catch us, we go, pretend we're not doing it. Okay. What happens in that moment, without being too cosmic or unicorns and rainbows and crystals and things like that, it's a very, very real thing. And if you don't believe me, go on YouTube and look up Carillion photography. Carillion photography is a camera. Now they have video that shows the electromagnetic energy that all of us put off. Now it wanes and it expands according to what we focus on. When we put with human beings, just using us as an example, but it's the same for a bottle of water or anything on this planet. When you put your attention and intention on another human being, say that person in the car over there, 4 things happen. Your electromagnetic energy grows. The next thing that happens is they feel it. The third thing that happens is their electromagnetic energy grows. And then you become magnetized towards each other. You become attracted towards each other, which is the reason why you look this way, and the interest goes there. Now, that's not a metaphor. That's a very real thing, and we've all experienced. We've all had it, okay? Yeah. That same concept works with everything in the universe. At the risk of sounding way too cosmic, everything in the universe. And so my magnetism to where, for example, if one of the things I teach is to teach people how to do what I do, which is to speak and capture an audience, to move them in a place that causes them to not just take some action right now, but take action outside of there so that they continue to do it and they turn that into activity. It's mechanical. People tell me all the time, Joseph, you're so natural on stage. Well, I wasn't. I had to learn this, and through a series of processes, which is process makes progress. Process make progress, not just thought and ambition and inspiration. You got to do something about it. So I have made it look simple and make it look natural, but I had to work at it, and there's processes to do that. And
This process of magnetism, like you said, to the water, to the camera, to the phone, right? Because everything is energy, right? So everything has a calibrated frequency.
Yes.
And so there's this attraction.
Speaking my language, baby.
So
come on.
So we can have that magnetism, and we can transmute and direct that towards our goal.
Yeah.
And the same way is we can repel our goal also if we break rapport with that energy. Yeah.
Well, the name of the game is if you have two magnets, and first off, if you have a magnet, that magnet became a magnet by a piece of iron being imbued with electricity. It's oversimplifying it, but you can make a magnet by taking iron and giving it electricity. Right. Okay. But it's a magnet to anything that is steel or any other iron around.
Right.
But that thing that you're magnetizing, because it's not a magnet, it's got a mind of its own, and it's not being magnetized to you. But if you take another magnet and you put them together, they'll come towards each other. Right. So the trick to life is not just going after what you want and actually causing it to come towards you. If you go after what you want, but you are not magnetized, in other words, if you have self-sabotage issues, you got self-loathing, imposter syndrome, doubt and all that stuff. You're literally it's like flipping the magnet over and changing the polarity. You're pushing it away, which is why people sabotage, which is why they keep getting reminded of what they haven't done in the past by them. They're telling this to themselves unconsciously. And so the trick to it is to help them in these three areas. Number one, change your psychology, which is what's so great about Dr. Amen. You said it's the hardware. He is the bomb with regard to how this brain works. And I know you and your wife did it, right?
Yes.
Or your fiance.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to go in January and get my brain looked
your scan done.
Yeah,
it's
get scanned.
amazing.
It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
And so that stuff is just spot on, because then you get to go, okay, well, here it is right there.
Yeah.
I, as you said in the software, I'm the process. I help people with the process to be able to make those changes that they want, in addition to figuring out what's going on inside your brain as well. Yeah. And so it's said differently, to flip that polarity. So you not only become the magnet yourself, but you magnetize the thing that you want, just like you magnetize the other person as well.
In the book Think and Grow Rich, in the chapter on desire, he says that, after studying, 25,000 people, 500 of the wealthiest, most successful, he said that he came to the conclusion that their brains became magnetized with the dominating thoughts.
Yeah.
That they could literally create, manifest, or attract anything they wanted without violating the rights of other people, which I think
exactly. We call it ethical magnetism.
Yeah. I love that. Ethical magnetism. Yeah. And so the idea here is it's not just, because I think people fall into this trap where they just say, positive affirmations. It's much beyond that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because you're talking about altering the vibrational frequency of not only your thought, but of the belief that drives the thought and the being that has the belief. Yeah?
Very well put. Absolutely. Because it's got to be internal and external. And I'll give you a perfect example. And I love the term vibrating and frequency. And vibrating is just movement.
Right.
That's all it is. Even if a wheel is turning, it's still vibrating. Okay. Right. But when we think of vibration, there's an experiment that I do, and that is this. I was a musician for a long time, so I have a collection of bass guitars in my house. Yeah. And one of the things that I do is I'll show people that vibration is everywhere. This thing is vibrating. Everything is vibrating. But you can prove it through the vibration of sound. And by the way, there's 21 different, what I call them, the 21 immutable laws of magnetism. And one of them is the law of sound. And it is a law. And what it means is sound will affect everything around it, but it will especially affect like things that are like it. And so in my room, I have these, it's a soundproof room, but I have these bass guitars. I'll turn one of them on, I'll turn the volume up, and I'll play the note, okay? Let's say it's an E string. I'll play the note and it'll ring. Then I'll stop it from vibrating and I'll sing the note. I'll go wah, and that will ring and it'll pick up and you can hear it through the amplifiers. Now here's the deal. I got 13 other ones in there and they're all vibrating the same. There's a piano that's vibrating the same, which means, and again, it's a very real thing, but it's sort of metaphorical to life. is that when you speak what you want and you have that frequency, meaning the amount of times that those sound pressure waves go out, they're affecting everything like it. So when you said that it's true that the person that makes it the dominating thought, a thought are words and sounds as well. They're in your head, but they radiate out. Just like when you look at somebody, you're literally sending those frequencies of energy to that person. So when you're thinking about whatever it is that you want, you're literally sending those frequencies, just like that vibrating string. You're sending those vibes to that thing as well, and what's causing it to vibrate the same as you. And as soon as they do, you become close together.
Yeah, you move it. That's what Thoreau said, is that as you advance confidently in the direction to your dream, it moves towards you, too.
If you do the right things to cause it to move towards you. If you don't, it'll move away from you. And we've all had that experience.
Oh, yeah. You know? And I love that because we are, life and death begins in the tongue.
Yes. Right? Oh, I love that saying.
Life and death begins in the tongue. And we can speak life to things. And we are causative. We were designed to have dominion over every frequency. I think because for a long time, I struggled with, dominion over all things. And I come to understand that means we have dominion over every frequency in the universe.
All
and we can
things.
All things.
And thoughts are things as well. And this is the differentiation in terms of us and animals, is that we have dominion over our own thoughts. We have dominion of it, which means we can program ourselves to consistently think the thoughts that are going to be conducive of the outcomes that we want to make happen. We've been given this by our Creator. We've been given this ability to choose how we think, to choose what to focus on, to choose the words, the images that we make in our heads. And the challenge is, I put mine down here on the floor, we've given that up to this. We've given it up to Netflix. We've given it up to all of these things that come into us all the time. And because it's a simpler path. And we've been so conditioned to do that, it's become an addiction. I said this to everybody, and I say this to whoever's watching this. Where am I looking? At that camera? Oh, right there? Okay, I say this to you. How often do you bring your camera into the toilet with you? Okay, I mean your phone. If you do it, you're addicted. Stop it.
That is so good. Guys, you are going to just love Future Proof 2021 with Joseph. He's going to teach you some of these strategies, and then he's going to be riding shotgun with Dr. Daniel Amen. And you're going to have two powerhouses working with you. Joseph, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for being part of Future Proof 2021. I can't wait to be a student as well. And thanks for being part of it.
Well, I'm a student as well, and thank you as well. And thank you for having me here. And I always say to people that, the learning never stops. So thank you for you teaching me the stuff and the things that we're all going to learn together. I look forward to seeing everybody.
Thank you. Be well. Bye-bye.